Well, about time for an update, gentlemen. As you can see, um, temporarily I have the rear cylinder and barrel on. I'll get to that in a bit. So, got the oil pump installed, primary drive gear, so that nut has all been torqued up to 100 Newton meters. Oil pump has been reconditioned, measured. That's the drive gear back there for the oil pump that drives off the back of the primary, and then the main function of the primary, obviously on the helical gears here, is to drive the clutch. So put the clutch together and it didn't fit, so this hub here, the clutch hub, this is the basket, this is the hub, did not fit the spline on the shaft. Wrong spline. So I went and had a dig around in the van, and what had happened is he had mixed up all the center parts of the clutch with the monster engine center parts of the clutch, so I had to drag all these bits out of the monster box in the van, which are actually the Panther bits, and clean them all and inspect them and do them all up. But I've had the cover on temporarily, and here's the cover. This is the clutch arm and its actuator, and that is seal in a bush for the oil feed. That's the main oil feed to the crank down the end of the crankshaft, down there, down that hole. Had the cover on and I've tested the clutch, and the clutch works fine. So yeah, what I've got to do now is take this clutch apart and do its final assembly. So I will soak all the fibre pads in oil overnight, and the nut on the hub needs torquing up and the lock plate needs folding over, and then that can be put to bed, and then probably the cover can go on for the final time. Just missing an O-ring that needs to go in there. I don't have a gasket for this side, they're unobtainable, so it's just going to have to be an RTV gasket on this side, and hopefully I don't have to go back in there. So up top, I've fitted all the cylinder studs, and they are Loctited in with stud lock, so they should never come out. And if I just pull this head off, you'll see we have a piston as well. Now, piston is just in there temporarily, but you can basically see it goes up and down. So the good news is that it doesn't hit the head. That's the one bit of good news. So now I'm going to have to basically set this engine up, find top dead center, and run some checks for squish clearance, valve to piston clearance, compression ratio, valve to valve clearance. Can't do the valve to valve clearance until I've got the heads fully built up with a cam, and I'm just still waiting for some valve guide seals. The bloody valve guide seals drive you nuts on this. So there's no rings in here, so you do all these checks that I'm talking about without rings. Rings is the last thing you fit before assembly, but I've gapped the rings for this piston, which was quite a bit of a job. It took me 2 nights sitting by the bloody TV to gap them, especially the top ring. It is so hard, and I had to take it out from, I think it was 10 thou out to 18 thou, so I had to take 8 thou off with a file, which took forever. Still to do the front ones, because otherwise I'm going to lose the will to bloody live. On this side we're basically all buttoned up. Put the casing on. that window isn't really a window. I'm going to have to take that out to do the timing, the ignition timing anyway, whenever I get to that. All these screws in here are out of this zinc plated metric fittings, which was up at my dad's, and one of the guys I met through the Z Tharo club, a guy called Mikey from Bristol. He runs a business where he does polishing and plating and stuff, so I put my dad in contact with him when he was still alive, and he got Mikey to clean a lot of these up and replate them in gold passivate. However, I never do that. I just buy new fasteners, because what happens is what's happened with this lot. I've had to go through and select each one of these cap head screws one by one, because on a lot of them they've been in the zinc bath too long, there's too much plating and they will not fit a thread. So a lot of these will end up going in the bin, but so far I've managed to get what I need. I've managed to scrape through what I need to get everything fitted, but you will see there are some are silver, some are gold passivated, so I'll try to put all the silver ones sort of round near the sprocket, because I'm not sure if I'm going to fit a sprocket guard yet. I do have one, but for so many race bikes you don't bother. Got here, that's the electrical connection for the ignition pickups running off the flywheel. Whether they'll stay in there or not, I don't know. Depends what ignition system I buy. I haven't made my mind up yet, and that's probably really constrained by budget, because you're looking at about 300 to 500 quid for an ignition system, and that's without coils. So yeah, we will get there anyway. But not quite yet, because I don't quite have the money. So when I fitted this cover, after setting up all the, if you remember, the gear selector mechanism is in this part here, that arm going up. After setting all that up, I then put this case on, and there was a gap between the casing and the crankcase, and basically this shaft which I had fitted, which was out of Monster or something, basically was too long, and the shoulder, there's a shoulder inside on this shaft about back here, was contacting the inside of the boss of this seal and bearing, and not allowing that to close up. So it then took me about 3 hours. I had to grab all the gear shift mechanisms that I have lying around, and I had to basically coddle up out of various different pieces a gear shift mechanism that would fit behind the case and would work. But I've done that now, and it seems to select all the gears, and the clutch seems to work as well. So that's that. And then on this side, with the cover on this side, same story. Basically I had to go through and select different bolts, ones which I could get to fit the threads, and yeah, basically went from there. So getting closer and closer. So now I can start doing some of the interesting stuff, doing all the piston cylinder checks. Until next time.